In 1972, the Swiss watch industry was dying. Japanese courts had made the mechanical watch obsolete overnight. The old houses were folding one by one, and in the middle of it, one failing manufacturer put a steel watch on sale for 4 times the price of any steel watch ever made. That watch saved the company. It is the reason Audemars Piguet still exists. And the strangest part is the price they're still paying for it. Today, I'm breaking down the 7 levels of AP, from the steel piece you could theoretically walk in and buy, up to the ones you will never be allowed to. And yes, someone's already typing that the Offshore is the real Royal Oak, and someone else wants to defend the code 11.59. You're both wrong, but I'll show you why. Level 1. The Steel Royal Oak, Selfwinding. On paper, this is the door. Retail is around $30,000. That's the number AP wants you to see. The one that says this is an attainable watch. It isn't. So you walk into an AP house, and it has to be an AP house now, because they cut the old multi-brand dealers years ago. You ask for the steel self-winding. They smile. They take your name. And then nothing happens. For a year. Maybe 2. There's no first-come list. The allocation runs almost entirely on what you've already bought. So you wait. And while you wait, that $30,000 watch is trading for closer to $45,000 on the open market, which means the people who skipped the line paid a $15,000 tax just to not be patient. That's the trap of level 1. It's engineered to feel like the entry point. It's actually the audition. Level 2. The chronograph and its louder cousin, the Royal Oak Offshore. The chronograph adds a stopwatch and a few steps of complexity, and the price steps with it. Call it 40 grand in steel. But the real move at this level is sideways, not up. In 1993, AP took the Royal Oak, made it bigger, thicker, louder, wrapped rubber around it, and called it the Offshore. The purists recoiled. They thought it cheapened the whole idea. They nicknamed it the Beast, and they did not mean it kindly. And then it became one of the most successful watches the brand ever made. Read that again. The watch the purist wanted buried became the one that funded the brand's next 30 years, by building a buyer who'd never cared about thin and elegant in the first place. But the Offshore diehards have it backwards. Level 2 isn't a step up the same ladder. It's a different ladder for a different person. The Offshore is the loudest Royal Oak. It is not the original idea. You're not buying more watch here. You're picking a tribe. Level 3. The Jumbo Extra Thin. This is where the people who actually know watches start paying attention. The Jumbo is the one that looks almost exactly like the 1972 original. 39 millimeters across, a case barely over 8 millimeters thin, running an ultra-thin movement that traces back to a caliber from the 60s. No chronograph, no tourbillon, no drama, just the purest version of the shape that started everything. And the intuition breaker is this. The plainest Royal Oak in the catalog is the hardest one to get. When AP retired the old Jumbo reference at the watch's 50th anniversary in 2022 and replaced it, the outgoing version didn't get cheaper. It jumped. These trade in the $70,000 to $85,000 range now, for a steel watch with no complications at all. If you've ever wanted the one quiet thing in a room full of people trying too hard, this is that watch. Level 4. Precious metal and open-worked. Now the watch starts coming apart, literally. At this level, you get the open-worked dials, where the movement is skeletonized and put on display, and the frosted gold, hammered by hand until the metal looks like it's been dusted with light. 6 figures, easily. But the money isn't the real gate anymore. These pieces, the good open-worked references, the precious metal limited runs, don't go to whoever shows up with the cash. They go to the clients who've already bought their way up the previous 3 levels. This is where AP stops selling you a watch and starts rewarding you for loyalty. Nobody walks in and buys the frosted gold. You get offered it or you don't. Which raises a question the catalog never answers out loud. Who decides? Who actually controls who gets to climb? The answer is sitting in plain sight, and it reframes everything below it. There are 3 names collectors treat as the summit of watchmaking: Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, Vacheron Constantin. The Holy Trinity. But look at who owns them. Patek was sold to the Stern family in 1932. Vacheron sits inside Richemont, a luxury conglomerate. Only one of the three has never once left the families whose names are on the dial. Audemars Piguet, still independent, still family held since 1875. That's not a heritage footnote. That's the whole engine. In 1972, a public company answering to shareholders could never have greenlit a 1,000-unit run of an unproven steel watch priced like insanity, at a scale the valet de joux had simply never attempted. A family with no one to answer to could. The gamble that saved Audemars Piguet was only possible because there was no board in the room to stop it. That's the engine. But the same engine has a brake. The freedom to bet everything on one watch is also the freedom to find out you can never make another one matter. And that is exactly what happened in 2019, when AP did the one thing no rational watch company would do. They tried to escape their own greatest hit. They launched a brand new flagship line that wasn't a Royal Oak. The code 11.59. And the market revolted. Not because it was a bad watch. That's the part the people defending it still miss. The watch was fine. It revolted because it wasn't the Royal Oak. 50 years on, the company is so completely defined by one 1972 design that it cannot walk away from it, even when it owns itself, even when it's free to try. The freedom that built the Royal Oak is also the cage. Free to gamble. Never free of the gamble. Keep that in mind, because the top of this ladder isn't about watches at all anymore. It's about a family deciding who gets to stand next to the thing they refuse to sell. If this is the kind of breakdown you want more of, follow the channel. This is the work. Level 5, the perpetual calendar. This is the first serious complication on the ladder. A perpetual calendar tracks the date, the day, the month, the leap years, engineered to need no correction until the year 2100. Steel ones start around 110,000. But the one collector's chase is the black ceramic. And ceramic is the tell. Ceramic looks simple. It's brutal to make. The material is harder than steel, so every brushed and polished surface on that case has to be ground rather than cut, and AP spent years getting a finish on it that matches their metalwork. The result is a watch that costs more, takes longer, and gets allocated to almost nobody. At this level, you're not buying a calendar. You're buying proof that the boutique considers you one of theirs. Level 6, the concept. This is a pee off the leash. The concept line is where they abandon the round watch entirely. Forged carbon, titanium, cases sculpted to look like engine parts, and the flying tourbillon, a spinning cage held from below by nothing you can see. These run well into the hundreds of thousands. You don't see these in a display case. In the back room of an AP house, a director slides a tray across the table to a collector who already owns 4 Royal Oaks. He turns one of these over so the tourbillon catches the light and says nothing. The collector isn't being sold a watch. He's being shown he's reached the part of the catalog with no prices on the wall. The associate who opened the door for them never sees the tray, and neither do you, not until they decide you're the one who gets shown it. At level 6, the watch is almost beside the point. The point is the room you got into. Level 7, the impossible tier. And it has 2 faces. The first is the grand complication. Split seconds chronograph, perpetual calendar, and minute repeater stacked into a single case, built essentially to order, north of $750,000. It's the most watch AP can make. It is not the most important. Hold on to that difference because it points somewhere nobody expects, backward. The real top of this ladder is sitting in the 1972 catalog. The original Royal Oak, reference 5402, the A series, the very first run. AP's own archive counts just over 1,900 of them. 1,900, that's it. Built when the company bet its future on a steel watch nobody had asked for, at a scale the Valley had never attempted. They couldn't give them away in 1972. Today, they start around 65,000 and climb past 100,000, and they're still appreciating because there is exactly one watch that started all of it, and they are not making any more. That's the top of the ladder, not the most complicated watch in the building. The first one. So what is Audemars Piguet, actually? It was never a catalog of watches. It's a single bet a family made in 1972 when everyone else was folding, and a 50-year-long decision about who's allowed to stand next to it. So if you're ever actually shopping this brand, the move is simple. Stop at level 3. The Jumbo Extra Thin is the entire idea of Audemars Piguet in one watch. The 1972 shape, the thin movement, no theatrics. Everything above it is buying the relationship, not the watch. Buy the Jumbo or buy nothing and wait until you can. The Jumbo will still be the Jumbo in 2035. Everything above it will still be locked behind a relationship you spent years building. The watch that started all of this is still the entire point. Buy it, wear it, be right anyway. And tell me this in the comments. What's the real grail? The $750,000 Grand Complication or the 1972 original that saved the company? The original. Every time. Fight me. Everyone has wanted something more because they were told they couldn't have it. AP just turned that instinct into a 50-year business model. In 1972, a manufacturer put a steel watch on a tray, and the salesman thought it was madness. Too expensive, too strange, too steal. Nobody would take one. Half a century later, the company is still built on that exact watch. And the only thing that's changed is the answer to one question. Back then, the question was whether anyone would buy it. Now the question is whether they'll let you. The watch they couldn't give away is the one they won't sell you. Subscribe if you want to understand how the rest of these systems actually work.